die my love. I really appreciate the acting and everything, the filmmaking. I say it's a hard skip for anyone who has mental health issues, who's in and around pregnancy, and for anyone who only likes kind of mainstream media. I don't think you'll enjoy it, quite honestly. It's more for people who like really wacky, symbolic, hazy, surrealism type content. This was a very hard watch for 2 reasons. Anybody who's pregnant or just gave birth, going through postpartum, I highly do not recommend watching this movie. I've never been, but I do have a very intimate relationship with depression, and I'm very empathetic regardless, and I understand how seeing this, and I actually read a bunch of comments and threads of other women talking about it. It was very triggering for them to watch this movie. Now, mind you, this is a discussion that needs to be had. I think it's incredibly important, very important, but it's triggering. And now this differs from Jennifer Lawrence's movie Mother, where it's surrealism, it's very overstimulating and anxiety inducing. This is like a 10th of her movie Mother, but it is still like that. It's anxiety inducing. Also trigger warning for people who don't like seeing animals being hurt. It's not very graphic or gratuitous, but there are 2 instances where 2 animals get hurt. And it's also, aside from that, for my second point, kind of boring. I find it very difficult to follow along when there's no plot. Like, things are happening, sure. It's just like, it's not necessarily, I would attribute it to being like a moving painting. Like it's saying things in a like abstract way, and it's not like necessarily surrealism, but it's not following linear storytelling, and anybody who doesn't like that probably won't watch this. Now, I think the majority, like the average person, will find this difficult to follow and or boring. Not difficult to understand, but it's just like, oh my gosh, when is it over? Then this incredibly important moral to the story is lost on the people who are too bored to follow along, or will like stop watching 20 minutes in, because it's a hard watch. Spoiler alert, I think the main character already had mental health issues before, and it's not just postpartum depression, but it's also like psychosis and just she needs to be free. That's what the whole symbolism with this wild horse is. It's a version of yourself that needs freedom and cannot be tamed. So this wild horse represents her physical state as well. It's hurt when she's hurt, and her walking around on all 4s all the time. By the way, I'm sure her knees were bruised. A lot of crawling around. And this represents her animalistic nature and the way they like, you know, like act like animals. And I do like what that means too, not vilifying our human nature, intrinsic, animalistic, like raw sexuality or nudity shouldn't be vilified. Like, it's just your natural state of being. Mind you, I can't relate. I'm on the A spectrum and I hate being naked. I'm not gonna lie. Even when I'm alone in my bedroom, I have PJs on. Okay, but I still understand like the average person. We're just animals at the end of the day, so it represents that, like your wild, natural state of being. I think it's an incredibly important key messaging of how women get abandoned. They lose their sense of self, and especially when she has no support system. Jennifer Lawrence said this in an interview too, like she has no one around her. She lost her sense of self and identity, and she just becomes a mother. That is it. At the end of the day, you are more than that. It's incredibly debilitating and heartbreaking because she has no other option. I will say those 2 women, like her partner's mom and then the other woman, they noticed. See how women notice? And her husband was just like, why can't we just be patient? She just needs time. No, they noticed something was wrong because they understood. They empathized. It still wasn't enough to make her feel safe and heard because she still ran away, but they noticed. Anyways, I still don't know why he proposed, why she said yes, but I think it really clicked for me when he said in the car, like, I love you. And I was like, oh, this is just a toxic relationship. Like, I thought he just kind of like resented her and was stuck because of the kid, but he does love her. Not that this is a healthy representation of a relationship, nor one that you should, if you find yourself in it, you shouldn't stay. Love isn't enough. You can love someone to your dying breath and back, but it's not enough. If it's not going to fulfill you and make you feel like life is worth living and good, you don't have to stay. Okay? This movie also grapples with that, like how to deal with a relationship when you're not ready to let go, even though it's not right for you. All of this, important. Now, why didn't I like it? Because there's no plot and it's hard to follow, but it really looks like it just shows all of the devastation without showing any solutions. Yes, she was in therapy for a millisecond, but the amount of women that feel this way, it is so important to discuss it, enlighten, educate people on this very real thing that many women go through. You shouldn't have to yourself. That's not the only way out. And they didn't show that. And I thought like, whoa, this is the triggering part. Not that she dies, but that there was no other way out for her. That's not gonna show a good example for people who are in that same mindset. You can't think straight. You feel like that's your only way out, and it's not. Okay, and that's my biggest problem with this movie. Heartbreaking. Side note about the movie itself and not the message. In the flashback, after she's gotten out, she's on the beach. She closes her eyes and has a bunch of flashes of memories. Now, after the wedding, in her flashback, she like leaves the kid in the stroller and keeps walking. And then that's not how it happened when we were first shown it. So it's like a case of unreliable narrator. And like her psychosis, that makes sense. Things aren't what they appear. Did she actually hook up with this neighbor guy? Because his lip wasn't cut, right? So she is imagining things. Like she's imagining talking to the old guy and tying his shoe. So it's kind of in a way how Beau is Afraid shows something crazy happening, and then we come back and then it's like, oh, this represents that it didn't actually happen. It was like their imagination or anxiety. So we don't necessarily know what actually happened. But anyways, this was just 2 different makeup looks. That's why I look like this.